It's productivity time.
It's productivity time.
It's productivity time with UPvisor
and Blue Ninja.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another. Are we ready, ladies?
Yes.
Hashtag. And Julie, there you go. Hashtag productivity session. I'm super excited to have my favorite ladies back from the Blue Ninja's business support without the S. But ladies, thank you so much for joining me today as we are talking about CRM tools from Hubspot to Pipedrive and Activecampaign and maybe all sorts of things in between. So I would like to just hand it over to you guys. Tell us a little bit about your experience in terms of CRM tools. What are they? Why do we need it? And how does it actually create efficiency in the workplace?
So if you didn't know already, CRM stands for Client Relationship Manager. It's a tool to manage your contact information and also to communicate and record useful information. So take away from your spreadsheets and email addresses and notes and things like that and put it all in one place. So these are really smart systems. We've been lucky enough to have a good delve around in our clients database and find what works and not works. So you can use it to gather your information, optimize that information, standardize it, so you can understand your clients and what's important about particular clients, the previous clients, the potential clients. And it's a really good tool to build relationships with people, really good way of effective communication.
It's about lead generation, isn't it? Kind of generating those new contacts that don't know who you are and sort of warming them and building them through your funnels into becoming clients.
Yeah, and I think I want to add to what Julie was saying. I think it's so important for us to be able to manage this in a way that you can actually start analyzing information, and that is where using a CRM tool as opposed to using an Excel spreadsheet really helps, right? Because you can start grouping people, you can start pulling through into your deals funnel, and you can actually start doing some sales forecasts using your CRM tool as opposed to just being very manual in Excel, and even having some sort of integration with some other tools that you might be working with. So definitely a good solution for us. So talk to us a little bit about the tools that you have worked with before and maybe looking at using going forward, and what sort of differentials have you noticed? What are the pros and cons of each of the ones that you've worked with?
I'll lead with this one. I think there are so many CRMs out there, and
yes,
there's no best one. So it's about what works for your business. So I think we always say that testing a system is absolutely critical before purchase to make the decisions, but make sure also that it does what your data needs to do. Often with systems, they give you everything for testing, and then when you buy it, it turns out you don't have a lot of the systems that you're supposed to be using. So there's also those considerations when you're looking at a system, is to make sure that you know exactly what you're getting. I think a lot of systems are becoming much clearer about what you do get now. So if you look on their pricing pages, they'll show you comparisons of the different products. Often the most expensive are for very complicated or very detailed systems. Often you need to, a basic will work. So we've got three that we want to talk about today. Those are Activecampaign, Pipedrive, and Hubspot, which I think a lot of people know because it's a free system.
Yay, free!
Christine loves Hubspot.
Shall we start with Hubspot? Because I think it's one of the systems that people get to know when you sort of start out. You Google CRM, often free, and HubSpot's where you start. We have used HubSpot with clients before. We've had mixed success, I will say, often because the strategy that they wanted in place, the system couldn't work with that. And then you add costs on to of course, make it work for what you need. So when they first started, it was a great system and it is a very robust tool. But once we started to build more information in there, we found it very difficult to use. So I think the pros and cons are when you're starting out with a system, make sure you know what you want to do with it. Because they were looking at multitudes of information for the same contact, but the system doesn't use tags. So when you're looking at how you group information, tagging is quite important for them, and it didn't work that way. So there's a lot of considerations, I think, before you start to choose a system of what your needs are. HubSpot, we found that it uses secondary email addresses, and it's easy to merge records. Julie and I have used a lot of systems where you try to merge and it doesn't quite make sense, or, you know, are you pulling it from this date or that date, you know? So I think people will use different email addresses. They will, you know, I think we can plan for everyone's optimal use, but you've sort of got to also take into account what people will do, you know, their habits, and you know, you forget that you're in something and you join it again, and so
I've done
and HubSpot really does have a very great platform for starting out. I think it's quite easy to use. It has a very good system. It's a very easy to user-friendly system for getting started, which I think with CRMs now, it needs to be visually very easy to use. You know, you don't have a lot of time to spend hours working out what things do. You really want to get in there and start it.
Absolutely. Can I interject there, maybe just in terms of ways that I've used HubSpot before? And I think there are a lot of different ways to use HubSpot, really depending on what business you are in. For me, in the service space, the ones that I've found really useful are my contact forms, and not just contact forms, for me to be able to get feedback after a workshop, or, you know, even just when I'm onboarding a client, I can pull all of that information through, as opposed to needing to use an external form like a Google form, you know, and then still having to consolidate that information into another platform. So that was one thing that I've used quite a lot. And then my calendar booking tool is like my favorite, because it allows you to integrate with your calendar. And so anyone that wants to set up a meeting with me can automatically see what times are available, and I can decide what times I would like to avail myself. Like, it's not to say I'm available 8 until 5. I can say, no, actually 2 days a week from 2 until 4. That's the small sliver of time that I'm allocating to meetings. And I think that's such a good tool for us as business owners to use, because otherwise we just end up being controlled almost by other people and by their time availability. And I'm sure that there are other tools for this as well. We had a session about calendar booking tools, and Calendly was one of the ones that I mentioned there as well. But so I've had a lot of compliments about my HubSpot calendar. And then the third one that I like using is the Hubspot Chat option that I can load onto my website. So they've got a little chat bot, or you can actually just have a live chat available there, and it sends all of that information into like a unified inbox. So I can get my Facebook messages there. I think it might do Instagram as well, but there are a couple of options that allows you to just respond directly from HubSpot's CRM side, you know. So I think from a free perspective, it's quite a lot of options that you could potentially use as a startup business owner, just to sort of see how things work. You can even manage some of your ad campaigns from Facebook going through there. So I think there is a lot of options available, as Louisa has said, but again, it is going to depend on potentially where you're wanting to grow into. So I just wanted to add that in there just to provide a little bit of context, maybe just to say it's more than just a customer relationship management tool, right? There are a lot of other features, and for the others, there would be as well. So just wanted to add that there.
No, that's great.
Yeah, and I think integrations are becoming more and more expected now.
Yeah.
It's not an optional extra, it should be there at the start. So you're looking at the tools that you use and making sure that they work together. So the second one that we can talk about is Pipedrive, and this is a relatively new system with us. We have a social enterprise client that we work with, and he had Pipedrive but never really started to use it. You know, it was sort of sitting there as a CRM, and he kind of wasn't quite sure what to do with it. It's really robust. Like, I was quite impressed with it. And when we get to talking about Activecampaign, he thought, oh, I thought you loved Activecampaign. It's like, but Pipedrive works for what you need. And I think the CRM, it's you know, we're not going to spout about only one CRM. We need to make sure it works for the client. So that's when we're saying test and make sure that you understand what you need the system to do. And we love that Pipedrive also integrates with his QuickBooks. So what we're trying to do is set up a system for him from collecting new leads, bringing them in, and then being able to engage with them through the financials as well. And Pipedrive has an option to attach documents, which we thought for him, that would be really essential. So when he's talking to a client, he can sort of see what they've already purchased, make it much easier for him to work with. He works a lot with schools. So, you know, he has a different element for schools as opposed to maybe his clients he works with for overseas needs. So Pipedrive, I think has great capacity.
It's what he needs, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it took a little while for us to understand what to do with the data. You know, it's sort of understanding how to put it in. And we tweaked a little bit we sort of took about 10 of his client list to start with and sort of worked out what the information does in there. So I think live testing as well with a tiny bit of data is always very useful, because we were trying to work out he has a lot of he travels each year, and so his products slightly change, but you know, the base information's still there. So it's like, well, how do we cope with changes each year for him? And Pipedrive's able to cope with that very well. So no, it was a good system, and definitely one that we would recommend having a look at for small businesses that are looking for something that has some good strength to it, very comprehensive, and could really be a reliable long-term solution.
Awesome. Very good.
Yeah, and then Activecampaign is the last one that Julie and I had on our list, and it's one that we found maybe a year ago, Julie. I think we started.
I don't think it's been ages. I don't think it's that long. I think it's
really?
only I think it's only this year, but this year's gone on forever.
Yeah,
and we've approached it from both sides now. So we know, well, Louisa knows the workings and tinkerings, and has challenged Activecampaign back about the workings as well. So yes, if a day goes past without Louisa mentioning Activecampaign, I need to check she's okay. I'm like that with Excel, a bit more simpler taste.
I think with Activecampaign, it is user friendly. You sort of go into it and you feel comfortable with it. So I think, again, we're talking about user friendly systems, that CRMs must be user friendly now. And I think if it's not about that long-term commitment anymore, it's about being able to make sure the system's really robust and it's up to date. It also has the marketing system built in, so you're not paying extra. I think with HubSpot, as I understand, you have to pay extra to get those robust marketing elements, the sales, where it's built into Activecampaign. So even if you are paying a little bit of money for it, you are getting a lot of use out of it. It also has a great team with Activecampaign. We found that we have a lot of questions. Julie's recently was it a week's training, Julie? Yeah,
it was. Well, they're quite clever because it was an hour Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and if you didn't turn up to one of them, you never got the recordings, and you were dropped out of there. They're not daft. They're not silly. So yeah, but they've got some really great online tools, and that, you know, they're making sure that you get up to speed with it. They're not going to sell you a tool and then just leave you to it. So no, really great training and interaction with the team.
We found that with HubSpot, unfortunately, it was very hard to get someone on the phone if you had a problem. It really is. They push you towards their documentation. And sometimes, I mean, we had a call with Activecampaign last week. We just needed someone to help us get past a very small element that we checked. It was quite a complicated automation we'd built with a client. And it was just one little part that wasn't working, and we just wanted to talk through, did everything else look right? And we got there in the end. But, you know, sometimes you just need someone to give you a little bit of reassurance of what you're doing is right. They are in the US though. So although Activecampaign sales is in Ireland, their customer support is in the US. So we bear that in mind as well.
Okay.
And that's also something to check when you're looking at a system is, where is their support team? You know, how do they support you? Do they have online chat? You know, look at all of that as well, because sometimes you just need, you know, a person for 10 minutes to help you get past something. But it's often a paid extra. So you've got to be careful about where you go. And businesses like ours, this is what we do. We try to build good systems, put them in place at the start to make sure that people minimize those issues that might pop up later on. Or if someone gets stuck, the chances are they're going to drop their CRM. So we want to minimize businesses giving up, I think.
Yeah, it's about getting the right tool for the right job. And we've actually taken Activecampaign on in our business as well. So we've tested it out with clients and thought, yeah, that's the one for us. So that's good to take that opportunity to take it for a road test.
Definitely, yeah. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll pop some links in the comments below, so you can go check out Activecampaign and Pipedrive and Hubspot and any others that you would like to share, ladies. But I think those three are really good to start off with. Just maybe as we close out this interview, I want to just get some input from you guys, because you understand how these things work and you understand how busy sometimes business owners are. And it's really hard to actually make sure that you are maintaining these things. And one of the problems that I have faced with HubSpot is that I need to make sure that I am, like Louisa, I need to be there every day, and I must be updating things. But it sometimes really becomes a chore. And I find that I lose the value in having this tool if I'm not using it often enough. So what would your suggestions and tips be for business owners looking to take on a CRM to make sure that they are actually getting the best value out of it in terms of the usability, in terms of maintaining the database, all of those things?
I'd say upfront is planning. Be clear on what you want it for, and it's like we mentioned about the smaller social enterprise don't need a complex marketing tool. So to be clear about what you need, and then it's about setting it up correctly that it works for you, and have a bit of a plan in mind about how you're going to use it as well.
Yeah. And I think, sometimes you have data, sometimes you don't. Are you starting from scratch? Are you starting with information? It's usually good to clean your information before you put it in. There's no point in chucking everything and then going, oh, hang on, we shouldn't have done that. So I think be looking at what your data is, where is it coming from? Are you going to combine lots of different systems? Make sure your terminology is standardized. Yes. What mechanisms are you going to use to report? I think automation is our new buzzword. It's automate as much as you can, and systems will allow you to do that. But it takes a bit of time to map out how you're going to automate. If you're pulling people from your website through a web link, putting it into your CRM, do you then automate a welcome message for them? Are you going to set up a couple of things to introduce someone to your business? Are you then building them into your newsletter? You've got to think of GDPR as well. How are you collecting their data? Have they given you permission to do that? So, I think if you look at it, as Julie said, with your business strategy, you need your CRM to grow with you. So even if you're looking at something for free, if you're going to start looking at maybe marketing and sales in 6 months, you need to make sure the system will work with you for that. So I think, engagement, try to automate as much as you can. And if you're not sure, get help to automate, because that little bit of time at the start can ease pressures way down the line. Absolutely.
Yeah. And they can contact you guys to help them with the automations and to set up all of those things. Maybe just quickly tell us about the process for someone, if they had to decide they want to automate their systems, what would the process be to reach out to you guys? What is the onboarding process like? All of those things to be able to get to the point where they can automate some of the processes in their business.
Well, I suppose it's just what we mentioned about planning is what are they trying to do? Do they have a lot of data already and they're not really communicating and engaging with people? So it'd be about grouping that information up, looking at it as a whole. Do they have the approval to contact those people? And just going through those steps and then working out a plan about which system is going to be the best, what automation's required. We have actually worked the other way around, which is using an empty database and capturing the database in. So that was a real other way of doing things and quite complex. So it's about what you need. We could work with you. We're not going to sell you Activecampaign if it's not what you need. It's about the requirements you need as a business, and we'll work with you to help you get something fit for purpose.
Yeah, and I think as well, there are tools like Mailchimp, so let's not discount the tools that are already out there that do, they're very robust. And they do have very limited CRM. So you can use something like that has it in if marketing is your goal. You don't necessarily have to have a CRM, but a CRM is, as Julie said at the start, it builds the relationships with your new contacts, with your clients, your customers. And that's the key of a CRM, is it gets to know your customer. It gets to know who they are, what they like. Then you start to tailor your messaging and information to that person. So, they can be very, very strong systems for businesses. If set up well, they can really drive a business forward. And I think a lot of businesses these days, their expectations is that you'll walk in and a system will just instantly do everything. Yes. It needs a bit of work. But I think, once you've really thought about what you want it to do, they will work. It's just another element of your business that can grow and be strong for you.
Yeah. And what we always do is evaluate what people have already got. And, they might have already bought a system and not be using it. So we'll always look to leverage what people have already invested in. We're not about, giving you something that you need to learn how to use. If you've got something that works and it just needs some slight tweaks, that's what we're here to do. Just make people's life easier.
And I think talk to your team as well. So that's one thing that people make decisions without the team involved, and then they realize that it won't work. So I think you need to sit down with the team and talk to them about what they need a system to do. If someone's really concerned about how much time they have to spend updating something, you need to justify why the system will be used long term. I think businesses that take that into account are going to really do well with a CRM.
I like that. Cool. Ladies, thank you so much. It was really, as always, really fun chatting to you. And we will have to schedule our next one in December, so that we've got our monthly setup, Yeah.
Sounds good.
Cool.
Thanks so much.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us already. 1, 2, 3 with #productivity. There we go. And until next week, Thursday, same time, same place, we'll be chatting a little bit more about tools and tricks to make sure that you are super productive in your business. So until then, we'll see you. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
This podcast has been brought to you today by UPvisor and Blue Ninja. UPvisor, your strategic financial partner of choice to improve your productivity and profitability. Visit upvisor.co.za to unlock your full potential. Blue Ninja, your online business management team for streamlining and improving your business functionality. Visit blueninja.eu because everybody needs a ninja.